having a beautiful start to your awesome week this great Monday morning. Got some beautiful rains this weekend. Things are green. The flowers are blooming. And we got a special guest today. Yes, please welcome a man with a plan in the tourism and retirement development field, the one and only Max Van Russia. We go. Say that for me, brother.
Okay, my friend. Van Rijswijk. And thank you for having me on. I really appreciate the invitation. And by the way, I do have to say, I think this is a great initiative, to have this podcast and talk with people about interesting subjects about Panama, especially these days when everybody's at home. There's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. So thanks, man.
I appreciate you being here. You've always been such a positive light. And, even for me, I look up to you and what you've done and what your plans are, especially in the Veraguas area, which, you and I both know that's a hidden gem, which we're going to get into a little bit later. But yes, thank you for being on. I want to mention real quick before we break into this interview, guys, just a quick reminder, Panama Good Times app is now being gifted to all businesses, all guides, and all experiences in Panama. Again, we have to do this together, and that's what we would like to contribute to the tourism industry to help Panama move forward and come out of this COVID-19 with an awesome national tourism marketing pitch and just getting everyone in Panama out and enjoying the nature, man. We have beautiful islands, beautiful forests, beautiful jungles, so much birds, so many waterfalls, just a ton of beauty around the clock here in Panama. So we definitely want to help you guys get out there and explore. And then, of course, as international tourism gets back up, we always want to be there to help your business and the guides out there and the experiences get people to enjoy their services. So again, welcome my awesome, very motivating, very inspiring guest, Max, my brother. Dude, tell us, give us a little bit about your background. Who are you and where are you from?
Okay, I'll try to keep it as short as possible. As you know, I'm from Holland. I came to Panama 15 years ago. I studied MBA, graduated in Amsterdam, lived the last 5 years of my life, basically before I came to Panama, in Amsterdam, had 2 different jobs at an internet startup, at a software developer, as a sales manager. But as you know, Holland is a small country. It's a crowded country. It's 17 million people, cold winters, quite a lot of rain. So to be honest, I'm an outdoor guy. I'd like to be outside. I'd like to be in nature. I'm very passionate, especially about rainforests, and I need adventure once in a while. So Holland, as a very regulated country, was actually a little bit too small for me. So when I was about 28, I quit my job and I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to travel the world and I'm going to go for a new, more like tropical, more inspiring destination. So I visited, I think, over 25 different countries in about 2 years.
And all of these countries had like a tropical destination?
All the same. I went to Asia, like Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, all those places. But I felt like I more and more got attracted to Latin America. Not only about nature, but also about the culture, the quality of life, the climate, the people. So when I started traveling this area from Colombia, Venezuela,
the beautiful women,
Cuba, Dominican Republic, Mexico, you name it, I initially ended up in Costa Rica. Beautiful country, a lot of nature, and almost were able to do a project. However, there were some issues with the underlying land of the project. So I got a little bit, watch out, a little bit skeptical. And then one day, together with a friend, we just drove down the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica and ended up at a bridge at the end of the day that said La Frontera con Panama. So I said, dude, we have to check it out. So we went to Panama, we crossed that bridge, we arrived at Bocas, and that was the day I fell in love with Panama. I mean, I saw the nature, I saw the beautiful beaches, the crystal clear ocean, beautiful people, the climate, and there was still a lot of opportunities. If I compared it to Costa Rica, that was already pretty expensive. Panama, we're talking about like 02, 03, was still relatively cheap. So anyhow, we did our due diligence on Panama, fell in love with the country. Unfortunately, never been able to do a project in Bocas. I mean, those days it was very difficult to raise money from investors. When I went back to Holland to say, hey guys, let's invest in Panama, they're like, Panama? That's like a canal, Noriega, and Banana Republic. We're not going to spend our money over there. So anyhow, it took me like 3 years to raise the capital. And when I finally had the capital, it was the land was sold, or when I had the land, it was difficult to get capital. So I never really had the chance to buy something in Bocas, unfortunately. Love Bocas, but I ended up buying a large property on the Pacific coast in Las Perlas, Isla del Rey. And that was actually a lucky shot after, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And we ended up buying 1,500 hectares on a beautiful island. And that was right before the real estate boom hit Panama. So now we're like in 05, 06. Panama started growing, land prices went up. And I was fortunately that I was able to sell my part to one of my partners, another Dutch development company. So I paid out my investors, and it was actually the first time that I was in Panama, independent, and ready to do it again. And that was the moment when I did my due diligence again on a country level. I said, okay, I can do two things. Or I go and continue buying on the Pacific, which is much more accessible, but in
Yeah,
my opinion, it did not have the nature, it did not have the eco development opportunities that, for example, the Caribbean coast had. But the Caribbean coast was not accessible at the time. We had to go out with boats and horses and mountain bike and 4x4s and sometimes use a helicopter to go to those places in order to check out the beaches. But anyhow, instead of going for access without nature, I choose for nature without access. And then basically hope that one day the country would be ready to open up that area. And I think that day has come. So that's where we're right now.
and so where are your focal points when you say the Caribbean? Where are you focusing the most?
Okay, I have a concept. If I talk about the Caribbean, first of all, the two most extreme destinations of the Caribbean coast are Bocas and San Blas. Most of those areas are Indian territories and what they
Yeah,
so-called comarcas. However, in the center area of the Caribbean coast is Colón. Most people of the Caribbean coast live in and around Colón. There, the beaches are a little bit dirty. There's a lot of people. The rivers are a bit chocolate. The sand is not so white. The nature is mostly gone. There's garbage on the streets. So what I focused on was basically where the road stops, the existing road. That's where the people stop living, and that's where nature is still there, and where the beaches are most beautiful.
of course.
So I would say some of the beaches that we have are very close to San Blas, basically bordering San Blas, one of the most beaches of this country. And if we go to the other side of Panama, let's say more to the west, then in the area of Costa Abajo, now we call it La Riviera San Lorenzo to get a little bit of a different name.
Yeah.
But actually, the more beautiful beaches are in the province of Veraguas. So that's in the area what most people know as Calauewara. And that
Interesting.
right now is the focus point where we're going to initiate our first project. We got lucky with the previous government. I mean, they've been talking about a road from Santa Fe to the Caribbean coast for the last, I think, 40 years. Omar Torrijos was the first guy that came up with the idea. But now Varela finally did it. And they made a beautiful road, from Santa Fe, little charming mountain coffee village, down to the Caribbean coast, through the national parks of Santa Fe. Beautiful views over valleys of rainforest, wildlife, spectacular area.
Awesome. And yeah, we're going to get into that in just a moment because I do want to talk to you more about that. But I know you have quite a bit of insight. We've talked about it before on, we're all in the same storm right now. We might not be in the same boat, but we're all going through this unique situation in life. How do you see worldwide tourism right now and the results of it here in Panama?
Okay, right now we're living very strange times. I mean, very uncertain times. Tourism, is down. It's out. It's gone for the time being. That is very weird. Has never happened before in the history of this planet. However, that will not be forever. I mean, we can see countries opening up. So very likely domestic tourism, national tourism is the first to catch up. And then eventually, with the vaccines and when everything is, being taken care of, very likely international tourism will catch up again. But the rules of the game have changed a little bit. And it's very interesting for Panama. Panama is like, how do you call it? A two-headed dragon. On one side, Panama has enormous challenges to overcome with its tourism industry or with its economy, in general. And the other side, it has enormous opportunities.
Huge.
So if you look at Panama,
especially now, real quick, I've been talking to quite a few people, like yourself. Panama is so spaced out. Like if you go to a beach in the Pearl Islands, if you go to a beach in Bocas del Toro, even if you go to a beach in some of the places in Coronado area, San Carlos, where there's more people, it's not like a beach over in Asia or a beach in California, like you go to a beach in Bocas, you'll be lucky to see 5 people. So, when we talk about distancing, that's one huge positive that Panama has. The hiking trails, the waterfall trails, the beaches. But not only that, we're built on small hotels. I know if you go over to Bocas or you go to Boquete or you go to Santa Catalina or Pedasí, you don't have 300, 5,000 room hotels like you do in Mexico. So, I'm looking at it and talking to a lot of people that, you're going to see a shift and people are not only going to want eco because obviously a lot of our eyes are open to with the clearing of the skies, less pollution, more wildlife coming out. But also, we're going to, I think, see a big attraction to places that you're not going to be stacked on top of each other at the poolside eating the buffets, and that's where I think Panama has got a huge plus coming out of this.
I agree.
So where else do you see that we should focus on, coming out of this and your perception on that?
Okay, let's put it a little bit into perspective, in context. Okay, Panama has a very young tourism industry. When the Americans left, by the end of the last century, there was no tourism in Panama. When we came down, 2002, 2003, there was no tourism in Panama. So tourism basically initiated a little bit over 15 years ago. With the increase of the real estate boom in Panama, and the increase of some other businesses like finance, banking, logistics, that was the reason why there was a lot of spin-off towards tourism. Usually it's the other way around. Usually tourism has a lot of spin-off to other businesses, but in Panama it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Other businesses, there were the people that came down to open a bank account, a corporation or a foundation, they stayed in this country for a few weeks. People that came down, for shopping from Colombia, Ecuador, other, more expensive countries, they came down to Panama. Panama was cheap for shopping. Then the residents came from the US and from Europe and Canada, and they invited their family and friends, and that they created tourism.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, then after the Panama Papers, that killed the finance industry after the, let's say, after the Americans left, because they came here on the basis of double quality of life for half of the price. But over with a few years of inflation during Martinelli, it was basically more double the price and half of the quality of life. So these guys stayed away as well. And then the dollar became much more expensive for other local currencies. So shopping was not as interesting anymore as before. So there was some of the reasons why tourism came down, and we are right now facing an industry that is still in decline, which is not normal for a beautiful country like Panama.
Of course.
Every country in the region, Costa Rica, Venezuela, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Mexico, they have all double-digit tourism growth percentages. And
And
Panama
why
is
do you think that is though? What are they doing differently in your eyes that you see as an effect of that?
next to that. Panama has focused very much on the Pacific coast. If you go to look everything that they built from Coronado all the way to Buenaventura, to be honest, it's a very limited and not very well diversified tourism offering. So their theme is basically an outdated tourism theme. It's a sun, sea, and swimming pool theme. That's what all these places offer. And in the 80s, for example, in Europe and the US, sun, sea, and swimming pool was the theme. But now, when people are much more creative, much more active, people
Eco.
explore, it's about eco. If you
Yeah.
look at what are the double growth tourism segments right now, number one is eco, number two is adventure, number three is wellness, and number four is culture. So you tell me, where can we find eco, adventure, wellness, and culture tourism on the Pacific coast? It's simply not there. And next to the fact that most of the nature is gone, makes it a very hard proposition to explore that area, because people don't come here to Panama to watch more cattle farms or small little villages. I mean, that's the kind of things that they have in their own country. Europe is a beautiful continent. America is a beautiful continent. We did not come to Panama to see more cattle farms or mediocre beaches. So
Yep.
what Panama has to do, we really have to think about what can we offer the world, especially those areas that they don't have. And then look at, for example, Costa Rica. Costa Rica doesn't have the best beaches of the world. Costa Rica have one single proposition, the Pura Vida proposition, which is nature. They sell their wildlife. And if you look at Panama, and if you really analyze the country, and unfortunately from like the mountain area down, the nature is gone. But from the mountain area up, nature is still there. So if you go to the Caribbean coast, you will find virgin, untouched rainforest all over the place, beautiful meandering rivers, waterfalls all over the place, indigenous cultures, islands. Let's say if you go to Veraguas, there's Escudo. It's one of the most beautiful islands of the Caribbean. So I think if the country decides to go first tourism, and secondly go towards ecotourism, and I think if you look at the last slogan, to be honest, it's one of the first slogans that is pretty well defined. Panama discovered by tourism. I think if that's the direction, then it's the right direction. But we have to
Yeah.
combine it with the right location. And that's the challenge, because there is not so much right now on the Caribbean coast. It still has to be developed. It just got access, which is step number one. They built the bridge in Colón over the Panama Canal. They just finished the road, in Veraguas from Santa Fe to the coast. But now it's time to step up, together with the government and private initiatives to develop that particular area of the country.
And what do you see? You know, like I agree. I like the nature aspect. It does bring in a certain type of tourist. Now, you know, because I'm a young gentleman like yourself. I also see and talk to, you know me. I talk to everybody. I'm out and da 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 da. That's why I do magazines and newspapers and apps. It's something I enjoy. And talking to some of these tourists that come in, you know, I'm always in tourist places. But you know, a lot of these get people, younger people, and I think that kind of our focus, and I think it has been, and it definitely should stay this way. It should be a 25 to 45 year, maybe 55 target demographic. And why is that? Is just, you know, there's tons of fun. I mean, going to Bocas and going four-wheeling through the jungle with flying pirates, or going ziplining on one of our awesome zip lines throughout the country, or scuba diving in Coiba with spotted whale sharks, or, you know, there's just every time, and I go around this country all the time. Every time I go to Bocas, I find something new. Like last time I went, I did a hike. I went up towards the what is it, the west side of the island, and I did a walk through over to the other side to BB's. And there's this beach over there, and walking through the middle of the island, like there's something that I had never done before. And, you know, like that is cool because you get the nightlife, the fun, the parties, the good food. There's a lot of adventure, but there's also just tons of nature, you know, like at night you can go out and party. The next day you can be on a boat going out to Zapatillo and going and seeing the sloths and seeing the dolphins and starfish. And I mean, my buddy came from California and he was blown away. I took him to Bocas. We spent some time in Panama City. Obviously, kind of what I really like about Panama is makes it unique is, you know, you get a little bit of the city life too, because gastrotourism is very important as well. And then, you know, we went over to San Blas, which again, like you're talking about, are in those regions of the Caribbean where it's like two different countries, but there's just so much in between, like you said, in Veraguas and Colon, you know, that I can't wait to get over there. I know you've mentioned it a couple of times. I haven't been to Santa Fe yet, which is the mountain town of Veraguas. I can't wait to go. But I gotta take a journey with you. I gotta go down into, and what's that called? What part of Veraguas is that? Oh, down on the Caribbean there.
Okay, the district is called Santa Fe. Santa Fe is not only the name of the little village, you know, in the mountains, which is actually like the Boquete of 15 years ago.
Okay.
And before Sam Taliaferro started his project with Valle Escondido, the old Boquete, that's right now Santa Fe. It's a little coffee village, you know, very charming. There's a few little hotels, hostels, restaurants. But it's catching up pretty fast because right now they just finished their road to the Caribbean coast, and now, you know, for more people, it's like a full destination. They have that mountain experience with Santa Fe, whole bunch of waterfalls. I think like 26 world-class waterfalls just, you know, around Santa Fe in less than 15 minutes by car. And then in 50 minutes, you know, you drive down the Caribbean coast, spectacular drive, Harley Davidson kind of road before you arrive at Calahuevo. But I agree, like you just said, is there another country in the world that has 4 archipelagos?
Like, wow.
Archipelagos like Bocas, San Blas, Coiba, Las Perlas. I mean, that is unique, and each one is completely different historically, culturally, naturally. I mean, that is something you will not find in any other country in the world.
Well, you know something that's really neat, Max, is that I've been talking a lot with the ATP, and, you know, one of the things that you just mentioned, so we're talking about 27 waterfalls, gorgeous waterfalls, right? How do people get there? And like, this is the next step for the app and where we're really looking to push, not only for international tourism, but for the national tourist, because as you're sitting there in your living room, I'm sitting here in my living room. As soon as they open the floodgates, you're going to see all of these people that maybe typically go to Europe, Panamanians that typically are in Europe this time of year, that probably are not going to, you know, take that chance to go fly over to Italy or to Greece or to Germany at this time. And it's a good opportunity to rediscover Panama. But more so, how do I get there? You know, I want to find these waterfalls. I want to find this cool Quetzal trail, or this awesome waterfall trail, or whatever. You know, there's, you know, Fort San Lorenzo. You know, how do you get there? So one of the things we're adding on the app, we just put the category up, is places of interest and adventures, where if
Great.
you know this waterfall and you can give me directions, I go over there or my team goes over there. We mark it on our app. So when someone looks at that waterfall, they see the photos, they can contact someone in that area, which we put into the app, and then they get driving directions. So imagine if you're able to push a button and it takes you to the entrance of the trail that you can then go on this hike. So I'm super stoked about that because, like you said, we need to discover these places. I didn't know there was 27 of these waterfalls over there. And I've been working in tourism for almost, 7 years now? So, like, guys like me should know, like.
What we should do is we are building a website right now. This is Caribbean Veraguas that includes all those tourism attractions. It includes all the natural attractions, where to find the waterfalls, how to go to Escudo de Veraguas, how to go to certain places along the coast, to visit the Nova Bugle Indians. All these different things is going to be part of our website, and I think if we can connect it to your app, that's going to be an interesting synergy.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing with the app; it's a dot connector. Just like the newspaper and the magazine. Our company name is a Circle Networking. Why? Because we're a circle and we like to connect dots. That's my joy. If I can get people to go to this restaurant or this beautiful area of Panama, whether it's a national Panamanian, an expat, a tourist, it doesn't matter. It's like we need to be sharing this information because there's just too many people that don't know, and of course, make sure we get that done and move forward and improving the connection. The connectivity is very important. So tell me, where do you see, how do you foresee the recovery of the local industry in tourism?
Okay, what I think is that when they take this country out of lockdown, that people start traveling again. I mean, everybody wants to leave their place. Everyone wants to leave the city. And I think that most people, most people have seen most of the destinations in Panama. Most people have been in Santa Catalina, have been in Playa Bernal, in Pedasi, all these places that are pretty accessible. So the fact that there are some new destinations that recently got opened up, like Santa Fe and the Caribbean coast, I think that makes them a very interesting place on short term, only for domestic tourism. And to be honest, I think that it might take half a year or year and a half, but international tourism will catch up. And I think Panama is, okay, there's few things. First of all, yes, they have to do something between public and private initiatives to open up that Caribbean region that has everything to offer for the kind of tourism that they're looking for. That's one. Two, the other opportunity that we have is called Tocumen International Airport. There's 16.7 million people going through that airport on a yearly basis. And not even 10%, not 1.6 million are leaving the airport to visit the country. So there's a 90% opportunity that with the right promotion and the right incentives and the right offering, but especially with the right prices, we should open up this country for those people. That is a huge missed opportunity right now.
The ATP announced at the beginning of the year is, the initiative to have the free stopover. And I think it's up to 7 days where if you're flying, maybe you're a businessman and you fly from Chicago to Argentina 3 times a year. Now, if you're coming through the airport and you are entertained by some element and given some information, obviously this is a great opportunity. Like you said, connect with those people, let them know, hey, next time you come through Panama, come out for 5-7 days, head over to Veraguas, go up to Santa Fe, go over to Boquete, go to Bocas del Toro, stay in the city, eat at a bunch of awesome restaurants, experience the nightlife, go see the canal, go over to Monkey Island, which is one of my favorite, go see the Indian Village, which is another one of my favorites. Like, it's right here in the city, there's so much. There's a lot of adventure when you look at it. So that's very cool.
They have to come up with a pretty aggressive strategy. because it's not only Panama going after the few tourists that are going to travel. I mean, if you only look at the new strategy of Italy, they're going to give you half of your ticket for free. So if your ticket is like $500 to get there, they give you back $250 to make sure that you get there. But the money is not be made on the airfare. That's only monopolized by Copa in Panama, unfortunately, and that's why the airfare is so expensive to get here. But for the country, the money is made the moment the people leave the airport.
Of course.
So
On tax,
as
tax on.
aggressive as possible to make sure these people come down.
Well, I agree. And, even I've talked to people over in Costa Rica where I have never, on hand seen it, but that they're subsidizing those flights. And again, like you said, I mean, once you get the people in here, there's a tax on the hotel. The taxi drivers are getting money. The hotel, the restaurants are taxing, the coffee shops, the gift shops, the tourism guides. Everyone creates a tax for the country, where there's a ton of benefit financially for Panama, and obviously a huge benefit for our great hotels and our great restaurants, because we know that they've been working their butts off for years now, and it's they're really waiting and ready for that big, all these efforts paying off. So yeah, I agree. That's very, very insightful, and hopefully we can get some massive marketing campaigns and attract these people down. One thing that I like to mention about that is, the world's changing quickly, and obviously more so now with this whole situation. But even beforehand, like, everybody's glued to their phones. Everybody's on Instagram and Facebook. You can see the numbers worldwide, and to reach people, it's just so easy these days. People my age, like, I'm 38 years old. I've never once in my life used a travel agency. Now I get it if you're doing a big group travel, but we need to be in front of these people. Like the guy sitting on the couch in Chicago. Like, oh my God, I just want to go to a cool country where there's parties. I can go four-wheeling. I can go deep sea fishing. I can have all this fun. And then all of a sudden comes across the screen just that in a video or a photo or a campaign that continuously targets those people, gives them a call to action. It's all about call to action, get people to make the right move. And, again, put Panama in the consumer's face, the potential tourist. Put it right there over and over and over and over. Because I'm telling you, once the lockdown and international travel starts back up, we definitely want people thinking about Panama, because we have the eco elements, we have the adventure elements, the archipelagos. Like, I mean, for me, I know you mentioned Pearl Islands was your first place. Like, I love San Blas. It's a magical place to me. I love Bocas del Toro. But the Pearl Islands, that's like the Hawaii of Panama. It still has a special place in my heart. It was my first newspaper, the Pearl Island Times. So, I mean, but they're all so diverse. It's like you're in a different world. So, it's great. It's definitely awesome. So,
I agree what you said. I mean, Panama never really has been a mass tourism destination. I mean, it has been pretty fragmented all over the place. With a little bit more people here in Panama City, but the real tourism is actually outside the city.
Of course.
The biggest problem of this crisis is that it's going to kill, because of social distancing and because of all the new regulations, it is going to kill the mass tourism destinations in the world. So, like cities like Rome and Barcelona and Venice and all these places,
yeah,
they're really gonna hit hard, because of new regulations. And I think that also creates an opportunity for Panama, where we have so much space and we don't have all these people together, in big hotels with, that are basically unsustainable as from now.
Of course.
I think that creates another opportunity that we should use.
Massive. I mean, if you were sitting in Holland right now and you're like, hey, go to this secluded island, well, you go with your wife or your girlfriend or your family or whoever, and maybe you'll see a monkey on the beach, but that's about it. Or a turtle or a fish or, dolphins or whales jumping. Like, it's incredible. I know you've been around Panama like myself. I've been on beaches sometimes where you walk for a mile and you won't see another human being. So I agree. I think that that's going to be a huge plus for Panama. And again, agree with you on that latest campaign the ATP came out with Discover Nature. Because again, when you think of nature, you think of isolation, you think of, separation. And I think it's a good initiative. Yet we need a call to action. We need to be able to give them the opportunity to find and search hotels, make those bookings, find those tours that they're interested in, find the rental car, find the find this, and plan the adventure down here. So, man, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. Like you mentioned, it's a very young country, and we kind of didn't even. I felt like we were going up right before COVID, and then COVID kind of paused everything, and maybe even for a benefit, because now people are going to less look at Cancun. They're going to less look at Puerto Vallarta. I mean, why do you want to go somewhere where there's 8 million people? 8 million tourists stacked on top of each other. So that's definitely something that we should, as a community, as not just the public sector, but the private sector, look together and say, hey, let's point out the obvious. We got ecotourism, we got adventures, we got a lot of isolated areas that you can go and frolic and have fun on beautiful beaches. So I love it, my man. I love it. Now tell me. I want to know more about Veraguas. So let's talk about your tourism development that you're preparing over there on the Caribbean coast.
Okay, let me start saying that, in my opinion, and I'm like you, I have traveled every corner of this country, from Colombia to Costa Rica, from the Pacific to the Atlantic. In my opinion, the Caribbean coast of Veraguas is probably the most spectacular and stunning nature destination of this country. And why is that? First of all, rainforest is still there. It's the whole area from Bocas towards Colón is still covered by untouched rainforest. Next to that, the coast is very dramatic. That means that you see white sand beaches, then they're cut by meandering river mouths, and then you have these big cliffs going up, green with rainforest, and there's waterfalls coming down. That, I mean, if you ask me about the real paradise of Panama, then people really should check out the Caribbean coast of Veraguas. It is spectacular. And next to that, we're next to an Indian territory of the Noble Bugle Indians. So that makes the whole setting, if you combine the indigenous people with their intriguing traditions and cultures, with that natural, untouched, setting of it's like an avatar kind of environment.
Of course.
And that's how we experience it. Now, we got lucky that about 12 years ago, we went there. There was no access. We tried to get there with dirt bikes and sturdy 4x4s, and 9 out of 10 times we didn't even arrive because it was so extremely inaccessible. However, we were able to acquire some of the properties in the area, and that's right now where we're building our first ecotourism development. It's not just a project; it's basically the development of the entire destination, which means that together with a few of our neighbors, we are able to combine almost 10 kilometers of coastal frontage with about 1,500 hectares of land. So what we're doing, we're building a low impact development. That means that between 10 and 15% of the land will be dedicated to eco development, and about 85% of the land will go to a private wildlife, park where we're going to conserve, the rainforest and the animals. But on that 15%, we're going to build between 10 and 12 individually themed resorts. So one resort can be about the theme of wellness. The other resort is more about adventure. The other is more eco with animals. The other one is more like an avatar style of village. We have glamping villages. So there's like 12 different villages, along the coast on the most Instagrammable locations. And those Those resorts will all be about 100, 150 units, whether it's residential units or tourism accommodations, about on average per village. And then
And how
people are
far
able to,
how far are the villages apart from each other?
there's almost a kilometer between every village. So it's like, let's say if there's 10 kilometers of coast, there's going to be 10 villages. So
I
it's
love
not
it.
like the villages are going to be very, tight and connected. The idea is to create like trails through the forest, along the coast, passing the beaches, going over these cliffs, with bridges, going over the bridges along waterfalls, to really get become connected with the natural environment. But those trails are going to be, equipped for electrical scooters, electrical little cars, mountain bikes, horses. There's going to be a canopy tour, so people can also, go from one village to the other village, by canopy. And we're even going to do in phase two an electrical aerial tram. So it's
Awesome.
kind of tram that we have in Gamboa, which is only 600 meters. We're going to do like 12 kilometers of aerial tram so people can enjoy the forest, not only on the ground, but they can see everything where the birds and the monkeys are, right over the canopy.
That's cool. That's a great idea. I love that.
Thanks.
So now tell me, so these developments, they haven't been started yet, or are you already working on them? Can you give us a little more information on that?
Okay, first of all, we spent like a few years, almost a decade, to receive road access. That was, uh, essentially in order to start, working on this development. Last year, we spent the whole year conceptualizing what kind of development are we planning to do. So we talked with all the experts within the tourism industry to see how we could do the most ecologically and socially friendly project, but still have an interesting proposition, towards tourists. Right now, the architects are doing the designs. So they're drawing the designs of the destination, of the trails, of the resorts. And, we're starting off with resort number one, which is the closest to the main road, but on a beautiful location next to a river mouth, on a cliff, small little beach, on the right side. And that's where we're basically starting our number one project. So the theme of the entire destination is going to be adventure wellness. So it's an active proposition. It's a healthy proposition. Nature is there, the water is clear, the air is pure. But we're going to offer a lot of activities. It's something that, in our opinion, is lacking a little bit more on the Pacific side, which has more of a limited diversification of activities. Within our destination, we're already designing like 40 different activities, land and water activities together in one destination. So people can go kayaking, paddleboard, zip lining, mountain biking, horse riding, trekking, snorkeling, surfing, I mean, fishing, you name it.
Awesome.
There's a bit for everybody. Next to that, the whole destination will become completely self-sustaining. So that means the destination is going to create their own energy with solar park and small little micro hydro plants in a few of those rivers. Secondly, we're going to be self-sustaining regarding water. So we're going to have our own water intake. And thirdly, we're going to be self-sustaining regarding food production. So the entire destination will have plantations with with vertical farming and horizontal farming and aquaponics in order to create sufficient food for the entire destination, not only for the tourists but also for the local people living in the area.
I love it. And now, talking about the local people and your staff, I know you mentioned before something to do with implementing blockchain. Can you tell us a little bit of how that's going to work and the idea behind that?
Okay, the idea of our concept is built on what we call it the three P's, the famous three P's of people, planet, and prosperity. And it has been used for decades, this concept, in a lot of different economic models or a lot of different projects. But it doesn't always turns out to be sustainable. It's a difficult proposition, but it's important to create synergy between those three P's.
Yeah,
If you focus only on profit, but over the back of nature and local people, it will never be sustainable. If you only focus on the local people and you don't focus on profit or the planet, it won't be sustainable. And if you only focus on saving the forest, but you forget about the people and profit, it will not be sustainable.
of course.
So the only way to find synergy and balance between the local people, the, the natural environment, and making a profit for all the stakeholders included, that is the only way to balance out a real sustainable project. So now what we have done is we came up with um, like a digital platform where we are going to digitalize the entire destination. If you talk about blockchain, this is something that they call tokenization. So we're going to bring in all the land that we have into a tokenized platform. And by tokenization, we can basically give out a token, which is a fraction of the value of the entire destination in some kind of coin. So, we monetize the destination. And then all the different stakeholders, whether it's the local people, the employees working in the destination, local communities, the planet, the residents, the visitors, everybody will eventually become co-owner through the monetization of this destination, of the entire area. And that should stimulate local people so
Of
they
course.
become co-owner of the entire destination. It gives them a platform to make them, what they say, bankable. It's like most of these people, they don't even have a bank account. They've been disconnected from the rest of the world for a long time. And having a bank account for people is a life-changing opportunity. So finally, they can save money, they can get credits, they can make easy transactions. And by giving them that platform on their cell phone, because they all have a cell phone, they automatically through a wallet, they get banking opportunities.
Love it.
And the third thing is, especially for the more entrepreneurial people within those local communities, for these people, it's very difficult to get credits. They cannot go to a bank in Santiago and knock on the door and say, I need $10,000 to buy a boat to take the tourists to Escudo de Braguas, or I need $5,000 for a little kiosco to sell some souvenirs to the tourists, or I need a few $1,000s for the kitchen equipment to do a small little restaurant in town. They don't have that money. So, but if you have a microfinancing platform, you can also do a fractional microfinancing platform. So more people lend some money through this platform to one individual, but everything is digitalized, everything is transparent, everything is decentralized. Out of all the money that he's making, that's the whole idea. Tourists also start paying with the same coins instead of dollars. Then out of the revenues from those coins, part of the revenue goes back to the initial investors. And this is how we create a model that
Cool.
improves the quality of tourism within the destination, because people will be incentivized, will be more motivated, will be more involved. So quality of the total experience goes up. We build a platform for the local people. Even the residents will have a lot of benefits because they can acquire their new home or apartment or whatsoever, you know, in a digital way, which has certain, certain economic benefits. The whole idea is building a blockchain platform that benefits the local people, our visitors, our staff, nature, the distribution of resources, where it's electricity, water, or food, all will be decentralized, will all be transparent. So the idea is that all the parties within this people, planet, profit model will benefit from a tokenized destination. And right now, it's an ambitious project, but it's probably going to be the first tokenized tourism destination in the world.
Well, and it's awesome. I like that because I mean, if you make people feel involved, give them the opportunity to have a piece of the action of, it's great. I love it, man. I love it. That's super cool. Good on you. Good on you, brother. It's good news. Now, on that same notion, on those same regards of bringing the community together, helping, bring that value, whether it's loaning through these monetized coins or just giving them a piece of the action. Let's talk about your foundation. And, that kind of runs along the same lines as assisting and helping out in the community. Tell us a little bit about your foundation.
Okay, foundation is something that we incorporated in like 2007. The objective is like dual. There is a social objective and there is an environmental objective. So socially, what we're trying to do, and we've done it a few times in the past, is when there's people in need, sometimes a village, get flooded. We send out 8 missions in order to help the people. We have initiated, projects in order to conserve nature, protect the rainforest. We have initiated turtle protection programs, along a whole bunch of beaches on the Caribbean coast. But the idea of this foundation is to, on one side, help the local people, because they are the people that need it the most. Right now, we're lining up a whole like a COVID rescue project where we're gonna give like a few hundred bags of food on a more frequent basis to some of these local communities on the Caribbean coast. So that's the social projects that we are initiating. And on the other hand, is another critical issue is the conservation of nature. I mean, there's one thing that we've seen in a lot of places, all over the country, is that where you create excess, road access, nature disappears. We've seen it in the Darien, we've seen it in Chiriquí, we've seen it in Veraguas. I mean,
Well, and everywhere in the world. I've seen it in Hawaii. When I was a kid, I'd go to this place, and then when I went back as an adult, it was like,
gone,
wow, where did the
gone.
nature go? Where did the coral go? So, of course, unfortunately for them in those situations, but fortunately for us to have that consciousness of, hey, once you destroy it, it's gone. So tread the water lightly, conserve the nature, be one with the nature. So I
Yeah.
agree fully on that.
Unfortunately, the government is not aware or not capable of protecting their forests, because it's not only a matter of uh, putting the status of a restricted area or a national park on top of a region in order to protect it. We flew over with a few people a few months ago over the restricted area of Donoso, which is basically the Costa Baja, and you see fire all over the place where local people are burning rainforest. You know that every year 10-15% of rainforest of a restricted area, which is technically a protected area, is disappearing under our own eyes, and nobody's doing anything against it. So, and those areas are still pretty inaccessible, but over time, the more you burn, the more it becomes accessible, the more they burn. And taking into account that we are with this area in the heart of the Mesoamerican biological corridor. It's the only strip of rainforest that connects North America with South America. And that strip of rainforest is important for animals to migrate. There's still panthers and jaguars and a whole bunch of animals migrating to different countries. And that corridor still exists. It's still technically possible for those people to go from one place to the other place. However, right now, in the heart of the American biological corridor, they're burning the rainforest like crazy as we speak.
And why are
And
they burning? For what purpose?
okay, in Panama we have a little bit of a complex system for people in order to title property. And that means that if you're a local farmer and you live there for the last 20 years together with your children and grandchildren, and you've been using a piece of land, let's say 100 hectares for the last decades, maybe 10 or 15% of the land is like really used, and the rest of the land is like still pretty much jungle, but you live from it. Then when you go to the authorities and when you ask the anati, and the other authorities involved, like, Mister, I would like to title my 100 hectares, because when it's titled, you can commercialize it, you can use it, you can get credit, you can get a mortgage, or you can sell it. So this ownership title is very important. But when the authorities come down and they see that there's still a lot of forest, they said, Mr. X, we cannot see that it's yours. We cannot see that you are using it. So the law says that you have to use the land. You have to show that you use the land in order to get it title. So what is the result? What do? Logically, they burn it down. They don't even sell the wood. They just burn it down, put a fence, grow cattle, and then they get their land titled. And that's why local people massively, are destroying the essence of one of the most beautiful pieces of rainforests in the world, under our own eyes.
That's
So part
important.
of the foundation is to create consciousness, trying to go into a dialogue with the government, because we cannot blame the local people. If you have 10 mouths to feed at the end of the day, you need some kind of revenues, and the only way is to put some cattle, on a potrero, then that's what you're going to do. But it's the system that empowers people to burn down the rainforest, and and destroy the last piece of nature that we have in this country. So the other point is this: yes, if you cannot take it away from those people. We cannot come in as foreigners and say, hey, you're not allowed to, to cut the land, to cut the trees. So that's where the foundation gets in, and the foundation is offering an alternative. So we do that, in combination with our projects, that we create labor, we create incentives, we create, a wildlife hunter can become a forest ranger, and combining it with eco-development, eco-tourism development, we can create labor alternatives in order to make sure that they do not keep destroying nature, and become and join a more sustainable business model.
Love it. I love it. And what's the name of that foundation?
It's called Alianza Caribe, Fundacion Alianza Caribe. People want to check it out, they can go to alianzacaribe.org. O-R-G.
And we'll be putting all that information in the text of this video after the live. So guys, if you're interested in finding out more, we'll definitely give you the communication options to do that. Max, anything else? Man, I really appreciate you coming on today. Anything else you'd like to share with the viewers, the people of Panama, and the people around the world that are looking at Panama today with us?
Man, I think there is such a great opportunity for this country. I think especially after this whole COVID thing is going to be over, people are going to be more conscious. People are going to be more ecological, more responsible. And healthcare and wellness and all those items that we just discussed are going to be more important than ever. So this is the moment of Panama where they should grasp that opportunity, share the essence of this country, which is nature, which is adventure, which is wellness, and share that message with the rest of the world. I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity that this country gets in order to really,
Tons of it.
go for it, but they have to do it now. Otherwise, they will miss an opportunity, and other countries, will take it.
I agree. I agree. And, as unfortunate of a situation as we are in right now, you and I and everyone else in the industry of Panama, we are going to see a massive influx of people looking for adventure, looking for eco tourist locations. I'm seeing them all over Bocas. I'm seeing them in the Pearl Islands now, and that's attractive, not only for the aspect of self-sustainable villages using the hotel or the restaurant using locals, but also creating electricity and having the osmosis to take care of all the black water. I mean, it's a unique and awesome feature. Not only that is, even in Boquete and in El Valle and Santa Catalina, Mariato and Boca Chica and Puerto Moys, everywhere. We have so much little hotels and little bed and breakfast, where this is a great opportunity for those people that are going to be looking for that, because it's going to be number one right now. In my opinion, it's going to be number one. Is yes, you want to be able to go somewhere, have some fun, find some beautiful people to party with, but you're going to want your isolation. You're going to want to be able to go walk on the beach and not see another soul, go swimming in the ocean, go into the jungles, go into the forest, over in our forest regions like El Valle and Boquete. I mean, some of the most beautiful forests with literally thousands of different types of birds. Just here at home, I've always loved birds, especially here in Panama, but I've seen so many new species of birds in the backyard that are just blowing my mind, and it's giving me a lot of interest in that. I found out two things about myself. I really love birds, and I found to appreciate relaxation. So, this unique situation that we're in, we need to grasp it. We need to take it by the horns and ride it, let's start promoting these awesome elements. And then not only that, help connecting potential tourists coming in, whether we get international tourists at the end of this year, going into the new year. We still got to focus on national tourism right now, Panamanians and expats that have been locked up in their houses are ready to go and explore the beautiful nature of this country. And even if you've been to Bocas 12 years ago as a Panamanian, it's different now. It's incredible. Like my wife, when I first met my wife, I took her to Bocas. I've been to Bocas, it's this, it's that. It's her favorite place in the world now, because I took her outside of town, and even in town, she was like, wow, look at all these restaurants. I didn't know all these restaurants were in Bocas. So I think it's a great opportunity for the rediscover of Panama, for the national locals of Panama that, again, are maybe typically going to Europe during this time of year, for their 3-week or 3-month vacation in Greece or Italy or Spain. Hey, guys, we have magic in this country. Your country is full of beauty. And guys like Max and I just want to help you find it. So, again, Max, I appreciate you a lot. I got mad love for you, brother. It was great having you on the show today. Look forward to talking to you again soon. To everybody out there, we love you. Happy Monday. Remember, if you're looking to get your business, your service, whatever it is, whether it's in tourism or not in tourism, if you're an electrician, a plumber, we still got space for you on the app, and we're gifting it. We're giving it away for free for a year. So if you want some information on that, very easy. Just email us at info@PanamaGoodTimesApp.com. We'll see you again tomorrow morning for another episode of Living La Vida Lockdown here at 11 a.m. Again, Max, my brother, thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for a great conversation. And let's really try to do something good for this beautiful country.
I agree with you, brother. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Until then, ciao.